What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the UFC card going down this weekend, headlined by Derrick Lewis versus Sergei Spivac. 12 fights going down from the Apex, and I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Ozzy. How we doing this week, my man?
Doing really well, right got through January here, so going through to hopefully like the main meat of the pay-per-view, season for the UFC here. Some big fights coming up in March and April definitely that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, we got this card unconventional time going on this week. Looking to get through it probably in a quick order.
Yeah, I definitely looked into a lot of these new fighters. 10 fighters making their UFC debut on this card, which is fucking insane. But something that Ozzy just alluded to is, March and April is when it really starts heating up. All these fights these past few months are just like a lot of contender series guys, this road to UFC tournament. This card was supposed to go down in Korea, which would have been cool, but I guess the UFC couldn't work it out. And instead, they're having it in the middle of the night in the UFC Apex. And in terms of a recap, down astronomically would be a good way to sum up my bettings or tracked bets for the year. Lost 5.85 units last event, down 11 units to start the year. So we're in the fucking hole over here. But live bets are always good, and they rescued me the last event. But yeah. What about you?
Yes, I had three bets last week, all reverse sweeps, all three losers. The most unfortunate one, obviously, Glover was my biggest best one. That's gonna go down. Nate's probably not ending off on the best foot. Good performance by Hill. Obviously, I was just surprised that Glover was not able to get in on more takedowns and kind of put Jamal Hill down earlier in the fight. That was really surprising to me. And then from there, he just really couldn't find the timing to land any counter shots. But the Figueiredo Moreno over. Obviously, Figueiredo gets his orbital broken with like that awkward punch by Moreno. I think that fight would have probably gone for sure the distance if it didn't get stopped by that. Obviously, it's a fine stoppage. The guy's eye was closed, but yeah, that was not a good January. So that was down a little more than 5 units for me as well between those three bets.
Yeah, we underestimated Hill and how much he's improving. Obviously, it was probably a little foolish to trust Glover with a big bet into his 40s, and the mileage is accumulating. So we were definitely way off on that one. And yeah, G Rod too let us down big time. That was fucking hilarious. And no, I lost a lot of money on that fight, and I had a
Yeah,
bunch of parlays. I made a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leg parlay, and I had all these parlays, and they all won. Every single leg won except for Rodriguez, which killed
yeah.
every single one of them. So I lost a ton.
Yeah, to punish myself, I replayed that portion, that point where I was like, what's going on here?" I was like, they're giving us a playable line on Greg. What's going on here? And I replayed that on my I was like, "Fuck, you should have listened to yourself. You knew that shit was not too good to be true." But I mean, good punch, good left hand by the guy. I don't know what Greg was doing, man. Like you got to be more you got to be controlling the distance a little bit better there. But Henry hoofed, man. What the fuck?
Yeah,
God
he.
damn.
It's amazing that he really fights to like the level of his competition. Unfortunately,
But Martian, this is what I tell you a lot of times, man. The southpaw thing is that shit is real. Stuff just happens sometimes. These southpaw
and the
guys,
spark
like
plug guys,
these
the
guys,
5'8" middleweights.
yeah. But it's just like yeah. Greg is probably training with some southpaws a little bit during the camp. But there's just some shit that happens where like these guys are like just more likely to get clipped. When Greg doesn't have that many MMA fights. Like Greg has how many MMA fights
16.
does he have over? I think it's less than
What else
that,
happened?
but I don't know. I can't see it.
Burn
But
Burn
either way,
Smash, you had a good call on that one. Oh, man,
yeah.
Murphy, no shot on Murphy there.
Oh yeah, that was funny. I mean, I was being more sarcastic overall, but but like I said, yo, Lauren Murphy, she was ready to go 5, and Jessica Andrade said that her hands got hurt. So if that was a 5 rounder, you never know what could have happened.
Right.
You never know.
And then
That could be a
The
rematch down the
Bonfim
road,
fight was
bro.
pretty lit. That
Not
was a
gonna
cool knockout. Nice to see McKinney get
That was
destroyed.
crazy. That was crazy knockout. All right, let's get into the
Let's
card
rock
now.
and roll. First fight, flyweight division, Tatsuru Taira, Jesus Aguilar, Taira minus 1200, Aguilar plus 800. I don't remember which fights of Aguilar I watched. I watched a few, and I just saw that he was immediately just a bad grappler, and I just thought I saw all I needed to see to write him off in the spot. So I think he will get submitted. The lines, though, unfortunately, are not playable. Minus 135, best out there for Tyra sub. Um, yeah, I mean, it could be a ground and pound as well. This guy has pretty nasty ground and pound, so I don't know. I don't see any bets to make on this fight really.
Yeah, so I was telling you, I don't think that Aguilar is that much worse actually than CJ Vergara. I don't know, maybe people could dispute that. But either way, yeah, I think Tyrus probably gonna get, into his dominant grappling positions again. But I think this fight could be a little bit more competitive early. Just because, Aguilar's kind of, he's spunky. He kind of, moves around a lot. So if Tyra is not, kind of getting kind of like a clean takedown, it might take him a little bit longer to drag the fight out. But ultimately, I think he will win. The line is, I think, a bit inflated though, to be honest. But I think people are really impressed by like the length, the grappling, the strength that this guy has at the 125 weight class, and I think it will be too much for Mr. Aguilar as well.
Yeah, maybe I mean Tyra 2-3 at 450 plus 1,000. Maybe Aguilar can survive around to increase the odds on those pricings, but nothing I'm endorsing there. Next fight, middleweight division, Junyun Park, Dennis Tululin. Actually, a really fun fight here. Um, Two guys that came through for us recently. Park is the favorite, minus 225 to Lulin plus 190. What are you thinking about this matchup?
Very under the covers fight. I was getting my Parks and my Choi's and my Kims mixed up starting here. But obviously Jung Park is my boy. He's a very, very consistent fighter. You really know what you're gonna get with him. Good UFC career so far, right? 5-2. And even those two fights that he had were bangers, and they were kind of going back and forth. So I mean, the guy's had a lot of success in the UFC. Um, he's pretty well rounded. He keeps a good pace. He kind of has shown, the energy kind of to go for the finish later, just like he did against Holmes. But he also sometimes, if it's just striking, could kind of get dragged into a fight like we saw with Eric Anders, and even in the Joseph Holmes fight in the first round where he's not doing that much. And Tululin, I think, is definitely gonna look to exchange here a lot. So it's gonna be a matter of how does Park go to the grappling, which I think he will. And I think that he's a much better grappler than a Tululin. So I think he will win. I think the steam is the right move. Under 200, I think I would probably bet on Jung Park, because I don't really think Tululin's knocking him out. So I like Park there.
Yeah, I largely agree. I don't think I'm interested in betting Park, but I guess 65% minus 190 is where I cap him in this fight. I think he's probably going to look like a small favorite while the fight's on the feet. I do have some concerns that his offense is just a tad predictable. A lot of jabs, 1-2s. His defense is not great either, but he is durable. So I could see it being close in the feet. When Dennis is pressuring you and putting you on the back foot, he can string together combinations well, and but the grappling, for Dennis is pretty bad. He can be taken down. He can be held down for long stretches, and this was evident even before the Kizria fight. A lot of his fights he was getting taken down and out grappled. So Park has been looking to grapple more reliably. It's really what dominated him the fight versus Holmes. So I think he'll probably go back to that here, use those takedowns and trips, get the fight to the floor, maybe some back takes at some point, but I don't know. I think Tululin might actually see his way to a decision here, but probably Park round three. I think would be good, which is 1,300. Yeah, I mean, even round 2, 850, 1300. We saw Tululin fade a little bit versus Kizriev, and he did kinda give up the neck and then kinda quit a little bit in that fight. That was a short notice fight, though, but I can see a similar thing happening here. Park's got really good cardio, and, I could see the sub happening here in the 2nd or 3rd round. That'll move us along to the next fight, which is in the women's, uh, flyweight division. Ji Kim taking on Mandy Baum. Kim is pretty significant favorite here, minus 270, Bomb plus 230. I mean, what is there to really say about this fight? Not a fight that I did a whole lot of research on this week. I think if you're rewatching, Ji Kim or Mandy Bomb's fights, I don't know, man. I think,
You know Mandy Bomb's fights, Martian. Stop. You didn't have to go back because you already did this. All right.
I mean,
Don't act like you haven't seen every
no, I
minute
don't know about that.
of Mandy Bomb
But
footage.
but but
Do
but
not
Ozzy,
pretend,
tell me, bro,
brother.
you didn't watch this. You didn't watch these bitches fights throughout the week.
Listen, I know Mandy Bomb,
Yeah,
bro.
exactly.
What do you
That's,
mean?
that's what
I've
I'm saying.
watched every minute. I have watched every minute footage that has to do with Mandy
Right.
Bomb.
That's
I will say that right
that's
now
sad. Yeah,
confidently, with
that's sad. That's
confidence.
very.
So have you.
No,
So have
no, I
you.
don't know about that. Uh,
So have you. Yes, we've talked about Mandy Bomb fights in fucking detail. Depth. Didn't you go crazy because you won plus money on fucking Victoria Leonardo? Were
no,
you one of
no,
those
no.
people?
I think
Did
I did.
you didn't have
I think I
Leonardo?
did better, and then I hedged out on the live bet. I don't even know. I don't
Oh
even know. Anyway,
no.
anyway,
Anyway,
Kim will win. She won't cover. And she has terrible
man.
luck with the judges. So if you're betting a woman at minus 270 who has terrible luck with the
Ah,
judges, that's just stupid. I mean, sure, she should be one or two levels ahead of Bomb, but are you really gonna lay the chalk on this woman to do so? Hell no. Hell no. What
you
about you?
used to have confidence in Mandy Bomb's grappling. What happened?
I don't know. I don't know.
'Cause she trains. So look, I'm just saying, Mandy Bomb. I mean, I can't say that when MMA, the first females came into MMA, and Ronda
What the hell
Rousey
is this
and
preamble? We're talking about Mandy
when
Bomb here.
when did Ronda Rousey come into the UFC? Ronda
Jesus,
Rousey came in
2013.
2013, so 10 years, okay? Almost to the day, Martian. Almost to the day. February 23rd, 2013 is when Ronda Rousey made her debut in the UFC. If you told me back then that 10 years later, we'd have cards where it's Mandy Bomb versus this girl Kim, I would say it's not worth it. I would say no, scrap it. Dana, don't do it. Dana, it's not worth it. Let's not do it, Dana. Because how is this? How is this a fight that we have to be subjected to? Because Mandy Bomb, dude, like how she's barely competitive. Leonardo in her last fight, she's non-competitive versus
Lipski.
Ariana Lipski, and now she's plus 230 against Ji Yoon Kim in an MMA fight. That's insane. Like I didn't think that anyone could be like that. Like that is actually UFC caliber. But overall, dude, there's no way. The only reason that Kim is like this, favored is because, okay, one, the weight class, so like, all right, she's back at 125, and two, the numbers that she puts up, right, the stats, they look good because she's throwing like put little push kicks, she's throwing little jabs, little crosses, but you cannot bet on this fight. Do not bet on this fight. Do not lay 1 cent on it. Don't watch it. Turn the TV off. We need to boycott these fights like this. Sean, Mick, and Dana Hunter. They need to see that when these kind of fights go on, the ratings drop. So I think everyone should join the spaces in between this fight. Maybe get the play by play there as you listen to it, but don't watch it.
Yeah, that was a whole lot to say though for all that advice. But I'm gonna keep up the trend though. Round two, round three KO for Kim here. Are the stabs? Are the
No,
stabs? Yeah.
how is bro? Mandy Bomb is at the very least tough.
I don't know.
Kim has no power.
Yeah, but she's accurate. Okay, that'll
She does not hit harder than Ariana Lipsy.
no, but she throws more. Well, anyway. Um, Next fight is the first of the road to the UFC finals. We got 5 fights and oh no, only 4. So we're starting it off in the flyweight division. Hyun Sung Park taking on Seung Choi. We have uh, Park minus 180, Choi plus 155. Um, I believe it's your turn to start this one off.
Yes. Yeah, this is the only fight that I bet. I bet it today. I bet plus one so 160 at DraftKings on Choi. I just think that this fight should be much closer to even odds. I guess you could make Park the favorite just because he has more of a is more of a finisher. In the fight here. But the last two guys that he submitted, both those guys were just really really poor grapplers. I think that Choi um, is. I mean, he might be the in the later stages of the fight could be the better grappler. Maybe early on, Park being a little bit stronger than him might might give him the advantage. But I think overall, just an even fight. I mean, not going into too much depth, but Choi seems pretty well put together. Has won a few fights by decision, and overall, I just don't think that Park has fought very good competition, nor has he. I think has like the skills of a guy who's like whatever like undefeated. Okay, he's got like a few of these finishes and these more high profile fights. I'm not buying it. I'll take Choi money line. And I think this fight will also go the distance. So um, I think the minus 200, 174 on FanDuel is good.
Yeah, so I do agree that Choi is going to be the side in this one. I think Park is probably going to be the better striker of the two by a small margin. Because Choi he's tough to get a read on because his striking in the one fight on his in the road to the UFC, Rama, he seemed to have like no respect for Rama. It was just a charging forward, throwing combination.
It's Rama.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Rama. It's
Um,
Rama.
and then and then in the Kulin fight, he looked like very timid and almost intimidated by Kulin and was not really engaging any striking there. So it's tough to know what you're going to get. I think if he comes out aggressive like he did in the Rama fight, then he could have a good chance on the feet. But if he comes out timid and barely throwing any strikes, then it's not going to go good for him. But I think Park's leg kicks are legit. His combination striking is not bad, and I think that'll make him, the slight favorite on the feet here. And I could really see either guy having grappling success against one another. Um, but I think it is a little more likely that Park has the upside with the wrestling. But I can see him also slowing down and later in the fight. He's very untested late in fights. I don't think he's been to the decision at all, right? Yeah. So his past yeah, all well, he did one time, 6 or 7 fights ago, but his past 6 fights all ended in round 1 or 2, while Choi has gone to the decision 2 times in a row, on the road to the UFC, so, a little higher circumstances, and those were both, fairly competitive, high-paced fights, and he won both those decisions, so I think the fact that he, um, has been late in fights means a lot to me here. He's at a slight skill disadvantage, but I think that the cardio advantage could possibly make up for that. Um, and I think it does probably deserve to be a little bit closer of a line. And also look out for Choi live because Park could get off to an early start here, but with him not being tested late in fights, I think that we could see him, fade and possibly, gas out here in the second half of the fight. So that should be interesting. And that's going to move us along to the bantamweight division next. We got um, the Japanese showdown, Rinya Nakamura taking on Toshiami-Kazama. Nakamura is the favorite, minus 425. Kazama is plus 325. I tend to think this line is about right. So starting with things on the feet, Kazama, I haven't seen this guy like throw a strike, honestly. Like every one of his fights, he is immediately grappling and looking to just get right into the grappling. I don't think he sets up his takedowns really well. And I'm just not convinced that he is any threat on the feet whatsoever. So Nakamura, on the other hand, I mean, the dude is just charging forward, throwing bombs, pretty reckless abandon. I think he could get countered and hurt by more skilled strikers, but Kazama is not that. So with Nakamura being from a wrestling background as well, he's not really worried about getting taken down because he can scramble his ass off, and so he just charges forward on the feet like a juggernaut. So Kazama should be at a wrestling and striking disadvantage here. Only advantage I give him is possibly jiu-jitsu. So it's going to be hard for Kazama to get the fight in his realm, considering that Nakamura is just a really skilled wrestler and scrambler. Anytime Kazama is going to be trying to go for a position like a back take, I think that Nakamura could potentially out scramble him. And we even saw Kazama be taken down and put on bottom by that Mati guy. So I think Nakamura is probably going to win this one without much difficulty. And then the the only bets that are looking good to me are possibly the overs here because it is a 135 fight. Um, I don't really rate Kazama's chance at a sub too high, so that means the most likely finish is Nakamura KO, and I just think that it's not as likely as the ITD minus 260 indicates. So for a bantamweight fight at plus 200 to go the distance, I think that's the only interesting line I see on the fight.
Would you say that Kazama reminds you of like Shinya Aoki a little bit?
I don't know who that is.
So, I mean, this fight is I mean, Kazama is pretty cool. He's got like this like judo stuff going on. He kind of like does like these weird little like tangle ups and tie ups. It's pretty interesting. But Nakamura to me looks like a guy that is pretty competitive. I don't know how he has 6 fights and, like, he has, like, that freestyle background, so I'm hoping he's all in because he's only, like, 27, and I actually think that at 135 I mean, he's jacked at 135. He looks like a bigger he looks like he could fight like 145, 155, but at 135, I mean, I think this guy could definitely, tangle up and, have a future in, the top, maybe top 20 UFC, top 25. I haven't seen that much of him, don't get me wrong, but I do think he has the skills and usually, a lot of these guys, like sometimes I see like these Asian prospects. I feel like when you have the skills like this guy, they're not hype jobs. They end up like hitting the mark because they kind of get good opponents and shit like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing Nakamura. But yeah, I think he'll win as well. But don't sleep on my boy Kazama. He'll be in the UFC. I think he'll get some fights.
Any take on the what I said about over under?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Kazama, I think he is kinda like a Shinyayo. He's just kinda like he's got the weasel vibes with the grappling. So, like, if he's getting beat up, like, he'll, like, tie you up in, like, a weird ass way to, like, prevent you from hitting him or, make you grapple and shit like that. So, yeah, I think I could see it going over for sure, but I'm not playing it.
Also, Nakamura had a fight against, Caetano, which he kinda just took him down and laid on top of him and out-grappled him for the full fight, so I
This
think
guy's fucking nasty, I'm telling you, Nakamura is good.
yeah, he is very good, and I think that that could happen here, like, Kazama being a jiu-jitsu guy, I think he could, end on bottom here, and this fight could actually extend over. Obviously, there's potential Nakamura just bombs him on the feet and gets him out of there, and this all looks stupid, but
That last fight was insane, dude. He was out to kill that other guy.
yeah, that poor guy, yeah.
That was a yeah, that was a beatdown. He
Um
that he got fucking up.
Next fight is in the featherweight division. We got Jia Yi taking on Ji Young Lee. The odds for this one are um, Lee minus 243, Yi plus 208. So who will be taking? Oh, wait, is it? Yeah, it's your turn. Is it going to be Yi or is it going to be Lee?
So Yi, I bet on him in his first road to UFC fight, I believe. And I think he was the underdog. There was maybe
He was
Beckham, I don't know. He was the underdog. Yeah, he looked good in that fight. I mean, when I saw him grapple, I was like, "Oh shit! All right, that's some good." And what weight class is this again? 145,
45.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was like, man, this guy looks good. Like I thought his grappling was super slick. Second fight wasn't as good. Overall, obviously, it went the distance, and he won the fight, but it was kind of close. He's kind of like laying on his back a little bit, too much for my liking. Like he just wasn't attacking as much as I would like to have seen. So I initially was liking the plus money on his side. I still think that he like I'm not seeing the props like you mentioned before. Um, like if I were to bet Yi, I would try to bet it like inside the distance because I feel like you know I'm not sure how his cardio is, and I feel like Lee is he's solid, but I think he like kind of makes mistakes. And like if Yi is winning this fight, it's gonna be on the back of grappling success. So if he has that, usually I like to have a submission or inside the distance or something like that. In hopes that they finish the other guy. Um, but yeah, I think I'm not decided if I'll play that yet. But yeah, I cooled a little bit on enthusiastically having the money line on E.
Yeah, I think I would take money line still over ITD. I think he could win via.
I mean, Yi is good. I mean, these guys they both fought pretty good guys if I remember right. Yi definitely fought good guys. Like both the guys Yi fought were kind of tough,
Yeah, but
pretty tough.
up until his this point in his career, I think a lot of the guys were pretty bad. Like
Yeah, but he looked a lot different in that first road to like that was some very good grappling.
yeah,
That first
but
fight.
that other guy, that there's a good chance that other guy is just a bum on the mat.
Yeah, but he fucking folded still, dude. He totally tangled that guy up. That was pretty good. I was impressed.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like a striker versus grappler. Although Lee kind of reminds me of our boy Seung-Woo Choi, who kind of a tall, lanky guy, and he wants to brawl. He wants to trade it out in the pocket. He wants to land that left hook so badly that he ends up leaving himself wide open for counters. This guy Lee, he swings really hard and he's knocked a lot of guys out, but he is way open to be hit. So I don't know if Yi's that guy to punish him on the counter. I really haven't been too impressed by Yi's striking. He's definitely the worst striker of the two. But if he just doesn't back away and trade some punches with his chin down in there, he could catch Lee on the feet. But if the fight's on the feet, it's probably not going to be going Yi's way. He will be looking to grapple here. I hope he really commits to the grappling attack because if he does, I mean, he could look massive value. He really could look like the favorite here if he comes out and grapples the whole fight. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it has to be money line wise, dog or pass here. If you like Lee in any fashion, you might as well take him by KO because I just think that there's no way he's covering minus 240 without hurting him badly at some point. So you might as well take the KO. Um, but I definitely think that Yee's the side here. I don't know if I'll come around to bet him myself yet. I think it could be a live bet situation. I think the Yee will be very open to getting hit and hurt early. It's just a matter of can he survive that and get his grappling going. But Lee does not look like a good wrestler. That Bin G fight, he did get taken down and he was able to snatch the armbar off his back. But what happens if he can't get that armbar? He might be just terrible off his back. So hopefully Yi shows up with a good game plan to wrestle, because he could look like the big value if that happens. So that'll move us along to the lightweight final between Anshul Jubli and Jeka Sergei. Jubli is the slight favorite, minus 120. Jeka plus 100. So we had Lee versus Yi. Now we got Jubli versus Jekka. Um, Interesting fight here. I watched a lot of tape on these guys, and I feel somewhat passionately about this fight. And Jekka just seems mostly like a knockout artist to me. I think a lot of his technique is big swinging actions, and I don't think he has a lot of consistent striking. I don't think he's a good grappler. I don't know. I don't think he really knows how to keep his back off the fence because if you watch that fight against Pawan Man Singh on the road to UFC. He beats him up early, and then round two, round three, he's actually slowing down. He's getting pushed against the cage. He's getting taken down, and then he is able to land that spinning back fist out of nowhere and get the win. But I thought in rounds two and three he was looking really bad, and he looks like he just gets tired. He looks like he goes for that early knockout, and if he doesn't get it, he gets tired. Um, Now, Jubilee, on the other hand, before the road to UFC, he was taking everybody down and out grappling them. Just low level Indian fighters. He was just running through them on the mat. And then in the Kim fight,
Those Indian events look lit. by the way. Those
The
things are fucking
commentators, oh man,
awesome.
if you guys actually tape these fights, the commentators were like the nicest guys ever. Like this guy, some guy would get immediately taken down and look terrible, and then they'd be like, I won't do an accent. I'm not gonna do an accent, but
Yeah, please don't.
yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, great job to regain half guard there on his way down to being slammed on the mat." Like they just found something good to say about everything. They didn't want to
Bro,
be.
Jenka had some crazy fights though, dude. Like they were some of those one of the fights where he won the belt, I think, right? I think that's what it
They're
was.
all
Where they
YouTube,
were
bro.
going insane in there.
I
They
don't.
were going
There's bad
crazy.
news though. They're all removed from YouTube. I looked them
How'd
up.
they remove him?
I don't know, but that promotion, whatever it's called, they had a bunch of Jekka fights up, and
Oh
they
fuck.
removed them all. One Pride, yeah, they made them all private. I don't know what's up with that. Um,
Yeah. They're
and
trying to keep that boy down. They're not trying to get clicks. They're
That's
fucking
true.
stupid.
I don't know. But anyway, back to my
Honest.
boy Jubli. So, in the Kim fight, he tries to take this guy down. It fails, and then you're thinking, "Oh man, this guy's grappled in all of his fights up until this point. He might be fucked." All of a sudden, he pulls out, a striking game with some good boxing, a lot of good straight punches, digging to the body well. And him and Kim had a really good fight, competitive back and forth fight. A lot of people's knock on Jubli is that his defense isn't good. He got hit a lot in that fight, which he did. He got hit to the body a lot of left hooks to the head, but he ate them. He started round one well. He dropped Kim a few times. Round two, he got outstruck, and it looked like the tide was turning. And then he actually got a second wind in the third round of the fight, and he battled back and started digging to the body himself and got the well deserved win there. So, I mean, that was an impressive win. He fought a hard hitter, a guy with good boxing in Kim, and he was able to come out on top of a competitive fight, and he didn't even need to hit any takedowns to do so. So I feel like an extended 15-minute fight I think is going to favor Jubilee. I think he should have the grappling upside here because Jekka, this guy was taking down, Pawa Singh, and he had opportunities to take his back. He had opportunities to mount him, and Jekka let him up every single time. Like
Hey,
he
all right,
just didn't
Martian, wrap it up.
capitalize. No, yeah, bro, chill out, bro. You talked about Bob and Kim for long enough. So,
Oh man.
I think I'm not worried about Jekka's grappling threat. I obviously am worried about the power of Jekka. Jubli can get hurt and knocked out at some point in this fight, but I think if it doesn't happen early, I like Jubli's chances at running away with this one. So I'm going to be on Jubli for a medium sized bet here. I really think he's the more skilled fighter.
Best bet. Best bet. Write it in blood.
Sounds good. What's your read on the fight? Huh?
Yeah, so I tried to look into this fight, and first of all, I'm very surprised that these are two guys at the finals of the 155 tournament. Like, what was going on there? Usually, the 155 class usually should be pretty good, but I mean, both these guys, I'd be surprised if either of these guys put together real UFC wins, unless they gave them just other regional people from their area in like their future fights. But either way, I mean, the thing with Jubilee is like he just doesn't look that dangerous to me. Like even if he does, like when he does land good shots and just like how he kind of approaches it, and I don't know, just feels like a very low ceiling guy in every capacity overall. Don't tell his mom I told him that. It's kind of like a mean thing to say,
It's
but
fairly true.
and then Jekka, he's just like much more sloppy, but I feel like he's just kind of like a guy that just does stuff and it kind of like lands and it never looks uh good or aesthetically pleasing, but a lot of times it'll work and maybe he gets a little excited in there. But yeah, I mean this was a true pick 'em fight because I was trying to make a decision on one of these two guys and I was like at the end of the day I was like, why? No, like I'm not betting on this fight. So I think Jekka's gonna win, but I don't know.
Well, what about if it's starting the second round? Like, what do you imagine like the live line will be? Do you have any opinion on that though?
No, I think it's gonna be close the whole because like there's no way like either of these guys winning 2 rounds in a row is very plausible, but neither is gonna be consistent. Like Jekka is not gonna ever gonna be a consistent fighter. So the other guy is definitely more consistent. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think he has
That's
more
why I'm picking
consistent.
him. Yeah, I understand that like the power and the more dominant upside, like you were saying, probably is on the side of Jekka, but I'm just gonna trust my gut on the consistency and like the well roundedness of Jubilee. So
Sweet.
um next fight, first fight on the main card. We have Yusaka Kinoshita taking on Adam Fugitt. And we have this is in the welterweight division, by the way. Kinoshita minus 325, Fugitt plus 275. Another cool name matchup here. Your turn to start this one off. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Kinoshita's pretty cool. I actually thought, I liked this contender series fight. Some people didn't like it. I guess they thought, I don't know, that he should have what? That he should have finished it earlier. I don't remember. I don't
No,
know what
I remember
people's.
we were arguing about that one because I was live betting the other guy.
I bet the other guy, but he didn't look bad in that fight. I mean, he fucked that dude up. Beat that guy up.
Mm,
Pretty bad. He beat
mm.
him up. Come on,
Well,
that guy.
you know what you remember what the scorecards were though, right? It was 1-1 and then it was 2-0 for both guys.
Yeah, but he was landing better shots. Come on, like, all right, whatever. Either way, Kinoshita, I mean, he just showed me he's pretty talented. I mean, the guy's 22 years old, but he's definitely getting a veteran test here, right? A fellow southpaw, right? I think fucking always fights southpaw. Fellow
Yeah.
southpaw, very experienced guy, 34 years old. I mean, obviously he doesn't have a lot of fights. He only has 11 fights, but 34 years old. Um, but I just don't love Fugget at being his size and stuff at like 170. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like he actually doesn't have that much power um, in a lot of his shots. So I'm curious to see if he's able to evade some of the shots that Kinoshita, comes in with because I like this guy. I think this guy has some potential. I think he at 170, even maybe if he gets a little bit bigger, 185. I don't know. I just like Kinoshita overall. I think he's got a lot of tools to put together. And I think he's gonna look good overall in the fight. I think it could be competitive. I'm not advocating for a bet. I'm not, backing him in this fight. Because I do think Fugget, maybe some of the wrestling, maybe American wrestling that Kinoshita hasn't had to deal with to this point, but he's got a submission game as well. I just like this guy as a fighter, so I'll pick him. I would be surprised honestly if he lost though. Like if he got handled, I'd be super surprised.
Who? Fugitt if he got handled, you mean?
Oh, if Fugget like dominated Kinoshita, like
Well, no
whatever,
shit,
like
he's yeah.
wrestling. All right, but like people were like talking like, "Oh, fuck it, I like fuck it. He's gonna like wrestle." Like if he beats this guy by out wrestling him, I'd be really surprised.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be, like, easy if he wrestles. So, like, Fugit before Renfro, he was grappling, he was clinching, he was looking like a grappler. Then he knocked out, Renfro, and then he went, got the Morales fight. I guess he wrestled a little in the Morales fight, but, hopefully he goes back to, mixing in those, grappling clinches, because if this fight stays on the feet the entire time, he probably is gonna get stung at some point because Kinoshita's fight against Henrique, you saw Kinoshita struggling with the range, like the long punches of Henrique there, but every now and then Kinoshita would work his way into the range and then land a big huge punch, and eventually that's what landed the knockout. So I could see fucking having similar success here, where he's gonna be using that length, that southpaw style of his own, and trying to outbox Kinoshita at range here. I just think eventually at some point Kinoshita is gonna blitz his way in and hurt him with some punch. So Fugit needs to definitely mix in that clinch, that grappling style, slow Kinoshita down. Maybe hope Kinoshita's got a little bit of UFC jitters here or something. Um, but Kinoshita's takedown defense I think is pretty unknown. In the Murray Mama fight, he was taken down and kind of gave up his back early, but then he got out and just knocked the dude out right away. So I really think that the Kinoshita's defensive
That usually keeps the guys off your back when you knock them out.
right, yeah. Um, so I don't know, man. Kinoshita's grappling could be all over the place. I really don't know how good it is. So just the fact that it's a young prospect, you can't be laying the juice. You can't be betting him at all here. Some people are betting Kino sub. Have you seen this? People taking Kino sub. Oh, it's up to 900 on some books. Damn, people
I
are betting it
guess.
at worse prices. I don't understand personally. I guess it could be a club and sub or
I mean,
maybe
he's landed a bunch of submissions in his career, and the guy Fugget is kind of. I feel like Fugget is kind of weak. I'm telling you for his weight
yeah.
class.
I
So
I mean 9-1 I think actually isn't wor is a decent stat because I think, Thugger gets hurt, he shoots a takedown, gets caught, and, yeah, like you said, Kinoshida's got subs in the amateurs and pros, so, um, it's possible. Um, Main card fight next, featherweight division, Doohoo Choi making his comeback, Kyle Nelson. We have Doohoo Choi minus 182, Nelson plus 157. So I remember Nelson's last fight, I was making a case that he could be value and to bet the overs in that fight because Nelson was going to 155. He didn't have to cut as much weight. And, um, you know, he was fighting a guy who he could definitely exploit a little bit in Herbert. And now he's kind of giving up those advantages. He's going back down to 145, where he's probably gonna have tough weight cuts. And also Nelson, he gasses out. He gasses out in every fight almost. And he didn't death gas in that last fight at 155, but he certainly slowed in the second and third round. So if he slowed in the second and third round at a higher weight class with a smaller weight cut, and that fight wasn't even remotely high paced too. I feel like Nelson's just bound to keep slowing down at 145 here with that big weight cut, and also his chin is probably not going to be doing too well with the weight cut. Doo Hu Choi is a big puncher, and, Choi is a guy who is dangerous early. He hits you early, but if you're able to withstand that early storm, he slows down himself. So if you're looking for a good matchup against Choi, it would probably be a tough guy who's got good cardio. And that's not Nelson at all. He's not tough and he doesn't have good cardio. So I think this is actually a pretty well match made fight for the UFC for Choi getting his return here. I think he probably will land some hands and probably knock Nelson out early on here. But rewatching Choi, man, this guy he runs out of ideas quick. He tries to knock you out early. He throws some shit at you, and if it doesn't finish you, he doesn't really work into fights that well. I don't think he's too intelligent as the fight goes on. So I could see this devolving into some nasty shit if it gets past the first round, but I think that Choi will probably knock him out in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Nelson, the UFC version of like the job. He's like a jobber. He's that kind of guy that put you over a guy. Um, he's just the guy that he just shows up, you give him some fights. He's not on the roster to advance, right, his career. The guy came in 2018, right? His first fight, and he wasn't really active since then. And he didn't really look good in the Jai Herbert fight, right? He threw a bunch of calf kicks. That's it. But I don't think that was gonna work here against Choi. So I think Choi's gonna end up knocking him out. Could Choi get knocked out? Yeah, I mean the guy's a brawler, hasn't fought in 3 years almost, or oh yeah, 3 years, over 3 years. Um, Definitely the guys he fought much tougher, guys with much more longevity, like Jordan, Stevens, Cub Swanson. So I feel like Choi will land a punch on Nelson early. I don't think it's taken that long. Like I don't think. Were you advocating for the over? Is that what you were saying?
No, no.
Okay. It's just not gonna take that long. Because Nelson's chin is gonna be terrible too at 145 as well. So I think that Choi's gonna win. Like I can't support this guy. So
What
yes.
is his They don't even have the fucking props up on FanDuel right now. I don't know what's up with that for this fight. Um, I want to see what Choi KO anytime is. I bet it's probably only like plus 150. Um, let me let me pull it up. Plus 120. Yeah. I mean, I think
Choi will knock this guy out.
Yeah, I think so too. Plus 120 is not like great value, but I think it'll happen. Heavyweight showdown next. Marcin Tybura, Blagoy, Ivanov. Tybura's the slight favorite, minus 134. Ivanov plus 114. A lot of action coming in on Ivanov. Was plus, 170 just about a week ago. And just steady action coming in on the veteran Blagoy. Two old boys here, 36, 37. What are your thoughts? Who's your
Love
dog in this race?
love the intro into this fight, Martian. Obviously, like you described, there's so much line movement in this fight, some back and forth, with it. And there's no doubt in my mind that this should be top billing. This should be the 5 rounder here. I'd love to see Blagoy once again and Marcin Tybura. It's not like either of these guys are foreign to the 5 round nature of a UFC main event. And they always show up to fight and very experienced. So I'm actually shocked that this matchmaking had not happened beforehand, and I am glad that it is happening. So, Marcin Tybura, I rode him very heavily during his resurgence where he had like 5 fights in a row or something like that, wins. He was like pick 'em in all the fights too. It was crazy. Um and in that last fight against Romanov, like Romanov, what are you gonna do? The guy's gonna fucking take you down. What's in like it is what it is, right? But the guy stays calm under pressure, fights back, wins those last 2 rounds, whatever it is. They didn't give the guy a 10-8. I don't know. I'm not a judge. But, he ends up winning the fight. Now, Ivanov, the thing with him is he hasn't fought that much, but you just know what kind of fight. Like he's gonna bring a ugly, right? He's gonna make the fight ugly, dirty, right? He's kind of like punches into the clinch, like he's kind of like throwing these clubbing shots. Like some of them are looking ineffective, but he kind of just chips away and grinds at you. But the thing is, like I feel like Tybura, he has just like he's a different kind of heavyweight. Like, similar to, like, Fedor, right? Not that he's Fedor, obviously, but he's just comfortable everywhere, and he has, like, a little bit of a better motor, I feel, and he's, like, a little bit more nimble, like Fedor, than people give him credit for. And I think that'll work out actually pretty well here against a guy like Blagoy, who's kind of very stiff, maybe doesn't see the kicks coming as much, Tybura likes to use, right? I feel like, didn't Sakai have some success throwing kicks, right? He did pretty good with those. I think I don't remember, but he hasn't fought that. Fought like Derrick Lewis and what's the last guy? The Pazao, the Lima.
Lima.
So yeah, so I feel like Tybura is just like a whole different kind of puzzle. And I prefer him here because, like, what is like Blagoy really gonna take him down to hold him down? Like, that's tough for me to imagine. And Blagoy's the main training partner for Francis, Ngannou, so he's definitely taking some big shots in that fight. So in those sparring sessions, so I'm gonna take my boy Marcin Tybura by decision here. It's at plus money. You could get best market. This is plus what 160 you get 180, 165. So I like that. I don't mind the money line either, but I think, Blagoy's a tough motherfucker. Like, I don't know if you heard this, but he got stabbed a few times, maybe once or
Yeah.
twice. Yeah, he was in the hospital.
Yeah, he's got that booty hole in his chest, as
Oh, yeah.
Derek Lewis said. Um, yeah, I mean, I largely agree with most of that there. I think I would stick with money line though. I think, no need to get cute with the
Oh,
decision line.
Blagoy, you see what that guy gets hit with, dude? That guy has a crazy chin.
Yeah, but he's, 38. You don't want to be relying on it too much. Is I think it is kind of funny. This fight is like minus 200 to go the distance. Yeah, minus two over is minus 244. Hilarious. Um,
Yeah, exactly. So why wouldn't you play the fucking goes
because I don't think
decision?
that's right, man. I don't think so. I
Play
don't
the
know.
under then.
Um, nah, it'll go to the decision. But yeah, I mean, I think the pricing is, getting a little more accurate. I think Tabura around, 57, 60% seems about right to me. I think he is a lot, fresher and more nimble despite him technically being older. If you just look at the way Ivanov moves, man, I mean, his knees don't work too well. He's obviously very plodding and slow on his feet. Tabura just, he moves more nimbly. He seems like he's, got just a little more pep in his step. You know what I'm saying? And the dude, just fucking wins fights, man. I mean, what he's 6-1 in his past seven. Only fight he lost was against Volkov. When even in that fight, like I think he showed up to win. He put his best effort forth. He tried taking down Volkov, 16 times and failed all 16. One thing I will say though, it doesn't look good for him is he tried 16 takedowns and failed all 16, and then Tom Aspinall attempted like two and just immediately took Volkov down and made it look so easy. So I don't know if Aspinall's wrestling is actually that good or what the deal is there, but that's not a good comparison. Um, anyway, though, I think
Thanks for giving it to us, so.
yeah. Anyway, I think the striking has potential to be close here. Ivanov, is a master at lulling people into like low volume, counter striking type of shot
But
fights. But
Tybura's like he just throws these little quick little jabs. Like he's not really. I feel like he's not gonna let himself get into a low volume fight.
yeah, and I think Tabur's just going to be pushing him against the cage, and they're going to be jockeying for position. I mean, I really see it being a close decision. I think Tabura. has a little more clear upside, but man, I don't think I'll be betting on this fight at all. Tybura has been a money train in his career, but um, yeah, I just can't get him to bet it here. I mean, I think when it's all said and done, Ivanov might have had a better career than that guy Romanov, and then Romanov was -400 against Tybura, and now Tybura is the favorite here. So maybe
What?
getting a little bit of correction here. What?
What?
Is there something wrong with what I just said?
What does that mean?
Well, we had
Who would
Romanov, who's
who would win, Romanov versus Ivanov? Who would you pick?
I don't even
Fucking
wanna think
idiot.
about that. I
Well,
don't wanna think
what
about
you just said, you basically just put that up.
Yeah, but Bulgoi's good. I mean, he's fat and he's slow and he's unathletic, but, like, he's experienced, and
So who would
he
you pick in that fight, Blagoy or Romanov?
Romanov, reluctantly.
Okay.
Um, anyway, co-main event time. Can you believe it? Devin Clark is in a co-main event taking on Da Un Jung, which is almost equally surprising.
Da Jung is carrying him.
Da Un Jung -250, Dev
Da
Clark
Jung is the A
+210.
side. Da Jung is the A side here.
He is. He let me down in his last fight badly. I was there in person to watch him get iced by Jacoby.
Oof.
Jacoby got lucky there, man. I mean, he landed the hardest punch of his career right behind the ear of Da Un Jung, and Da Un Jung popped right back up to his feet. He was
Of
ready
course
to
he
go.
did, he's Korean.
He was ready to go.
He was ready
Um,
for more.
but, Clark, I mean, on the feet here is probably gonna be in trouble. He's probably gonna have to wrestle, and I distinctly remember taping Da Jung's regional fights years and years ago for the Khadis Ibrahimov fight. This motherfucker was hitting switches in these fights. A light heavyweight Korean guy is hitting wrestling switches in his fights on the regional scene in
Yeah,
Korea.
but
I
that
was
was,
like,
like, against, like, a pro wrestler looking little fat dude, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I truthfully do not remember. I could probably pull
Yeah,
up
some sketchy ass
the
regional
files,
fights. He had a
but,
sketchy one with, like, a sumo motherfucker.
Um, but Dev Clark's weird though. I mean, against William Knight, he looked good. It looked like honestly like one of the best performances of his career. And then Murzakanov, he looked spooked. He looked scared. I don't know if he had the flu or something, but he looked like all time worse in that fight. Remember when he got triangled in like 30 seconds versus Anthony Smith too, man?
I think that was after, like, a month after he got vaccinated, by the way, Martian.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Triangle.
surprised.
It was.
Yeah, that deer on his chest? I mean,
Yeah.
he has essentially become that deer. And he's prob but
Ah,
yeah,
that was a good one.
Dao Jung is gonna win the fight. Um, probably by knockout too. Probably,
Man.
catch Clark behind the ear, put him out.
Man, that was
Um,
good.
what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, interesting fight. I'm glad that it's in this one in the Apex because I feel like Devin Clark's dad probably wouldn't fly to Korea to watch Devin Clark, but for the Apex, he's gonna be in there. Um, yeah. So Devin Clark fought William Knight, right? So he fought that fight at heavyweight. I remember, back down here at 205, but just Devin Clark, I feel this is the kind of fight where. Man, it kinda reminds me a little bit, honestly, of the Alonzo Menifield fight, where people feel like, the guy's gonna ice him, the guy's, he's gonna be able to defend the wrestling, the guy is too durable or, I don't know, too strong. So, I mean, I feel like I wanna bet on Devin Clark at plus 210, and it's the exact same price that I bet on him against, Alonzo Menifield. And Dong Jung is not reliable. His cardio is not that good. He kinda, like, in his last, like, few fights the only clear win was that weird, KO with the elbows, right? Against and then obviously the William Knight fight. But even that fight, right? That it took him so long. Like I was big on him there, but I feel like Devin
I
Clark.
thought he dominated that one.
He did. Well, the William no,
Al
he
also though, he did, rally late versus Sam Alvey and get a 10-8 round,
he
so
did.
I don't think his cardio is to be much
I don't know. Maybe if
concern.
they're grappling a lot, maybe I don't know. Either way,
Yeah.
I feel like Devin
He really
Clark's
hasn't fought any wrestlers,
no.
that's a good point.
I feel like Devin Clark's probably value here. With this fight not being in Korea too, it's probably helpful. It helps him as well. um, more than like the market probably takes into account. Because Devin Clark doesn't need to fly overseas. This guy has to do the opposite. So I'll side with Devin Clark. I mean, I've always thought Choi was decent, but I never really
Jung.
think minus 250 against mid top 20 guys. I don't know about that.
You called him Choi, bro.
Oh, Jung, my bad.
Yeah.
I told you
You
I've
know,
been
I feel
mixing
that
these guys up.
I feel like he's a more of a Korean Superboy than Choi is. I feel like he fits that moniker a little better. Um, Main event time, a fight we've discussed before, a fight that fell through a few months back. And think about this, guys. They actually had a decision like, hey, do we want to make this a main event again? And they said, yeah, let's do it. Um, so we got Derrick Lewis taking on Sergey Spivac. Um, Spivac minus 235, Lewis plus 200. Um, I'll just keep it going with this one. I think Lewis is the side here, man. I mean, Lewis has looked terrible lately against guys who come at him early. They throw hard punches, they get him out of there. Sergey Spivak does not throw hard punches. He's actually a very soft puncher, and he's a grappler who's probably going to be looking to take the fight to the floor. And I think that's a good thing for Lewis, man. I mean, Lewis has always been a hard guy to consistently out grapple. You can take him down, you can put him on the map, but he knows how to stay safe. He knows how to pop back up to his feet. He saves all of his energy and he bursts back up to his feet. And I think that he has a good chance at that happening here early on if he gets taken down, or he might just start fast and Spivak might think that he's got a chance to knock him out, and Lewis might start him on the feet. So I feel like Lewis is a great chance to win the fight if the fight stays on the feet. And I don't think it's the worst case scenario if he gets taken down early on here, because he's been taken down and laid on by a lot of guys before, and he's stood up and he's knocked them out time and time again. So Spivak also, I hate to say it, the guy's made me a lot of money, but he's a little bit of a quitter, man. I mean that shot versus Aspinall, that elbow, man, bro. Come on, he packed his bags. He did not want any more, and he kind of took the L there. So um, I just think that
You took the what?
I, he took the L there.
Oh, I thought you said you took the elevator.
Oh no, no, no. But yeah, that's about enough about that one. What do you think?
Yeah, banger of a fight. I mean, you see, what's his name? Derek Lewis. He's looking slimmer. He's running stairs. He's running miles. He's running in the heat. And I'm actually surprised that they didn't follow through with the Korea card, because I can't believe that the Korean market wouldn't want to see Derek Lewis in a main event. Why wouldn't they want to see that? So I think that's disrespectful, honestly, to us in America. Well, whatever, it is what it is. Um, yeah, I mean, Spivak, I mean, he's the dark horse of the heavyweight division, because he himself looks pretty. He's filling in. He's kind of losing some fat, maybe gaining some muscle. I don't know what's going on in Vegas with their feet in the guy, but he looks a lot more ripped. And just a guy at heavyweight who can grapple and will grapple is, you don't see those. They don't grow on trees, right? They don't call them Gable. There's not that many Gable Stevensons out there. Not saying Spivak is that, but he might be him. You never know. Um, so I actually think Derek Lewis though should be able to, maybe with that, decreased body fat, a little quicker, can clip Spivak as Spivak looks to reach, grab him. Uh, and Spivak did let what's his name up, Greg Hardy once or twice. So
Yeah, Sakai stuff.
even if he takes him, yeah, and Sakai, yeah, got up too. But Spivak is good at like getting to the wrist and get holding turtle and stuff like that. So, but Derek Lewis is a different kind of guy. So I'll take Derek Lewis.
Yeah, Greg Hardy, I think, stood up 3 times in 2 minutes. Um, he had hit 6 takedowns on Sakai
And
to get
Greg
him out of
Hardy,
there.
bro, I tell my guys this a lot. I knew that there was a problem with Greg Hardy when I saw that he wore socks when he grapples. So it's a big no-no. It's a big red flag. And Derek Lewis is definitely, he's the best blue belt in Texas. So he's definitely a lot better on the ground than Greg Hardy.
And with Spivak's ground game, he's so, like, ground and pound focused, though. Like, I feel like he's punching Lewis in the face is just gonna motivate Lewis even
Yeah,
more, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um, and, guess what, Ozzy? It is February, and you know what that means?
What does that mean?
It is Black History Month, and
It is.
Derek Lewis, historically, I
Boom,
think was undefeated in Black History Month,
boom.
did take the loss Taira-Aguilar last year and in February and kind of broke that streak. But man, you gotta think that that adds at least
Hey,
5% to his
hey,
money
hey, hey!
publicity.
It can't be a coincidence either. Devin Clark also black in the co-main event. It can't be a
Yeah,
coincidence.
but
It can't be a coincidence that these two guys are top billing. It can't be. Oh,
yeah, I don't have as much conviction on the BHM narrative there. But any other? Let's see.
why's that? Because
Any
he's a
other?
brown bear.
No, I just don't. No, I don't. There's something about that matchup which I don't think the history month is going to play as much of a
Okay,
factor.
interesting.
Um, yeah, yeah, but that'll do it.
Was a great,
That'll
great,
do
great,
it.
great thing to add though. Right at the end, perfect. I love that.
It is. And then Bellator, Fedor retirement fight. 10 years too late.
Supposedly.
Yeah, I think it's funny that people are celebrating that. Like Fedor, what a great career. It's like, yeah, this, it went on about 15 fights too long, but yeah.
Fedor, yeah, Fedor's gonna lose that fight for sure.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like this guy's like, "Hey, you just won your last fight via first round knockout in your home country. Uh, you want to go again against that guy who
Sure.
just knocked you out and on the other side of the
That's why
world?"
he's Fedor,
Uh,
bro. That's why he's Fedor, and we're not, bro. That's just what it is. It's just
and then I got a hot tip for everybody who's still listening at this
oh
point in the
lord.
card. Yusef Karakaya is the spot on the Bellator card. I have Carl Albertson too, but I honestly don't even feel as good about Carl as I do about Karakaya. So look into it. Um,
Cool.
that'll do it. Any Bellator synopsis you want to give?
I'm not betting as Johnny Eblin. I think maybe the over 3.5 is solid there. It's minus 180. But Johnny Eblin, I feel like he's a big humper. Big humper. I don't like Steve Mowry, so I want to fade him. Um, and I mean, man, that Caldwell fight is actually pretty interesting to me because Nikita, I mean, I didn't think he looked all that great in against Barzola. I think that's who he fought last. And
Yeah, it was.
Darian Caldwell, being a dog to him, maybe it's just like the Russian style is bad for maybe Darian Caldwell is cooked. Yeah, let me not invest in him. Yeah, that'll do it.
And then my good friend Amanda Levy is fighting in the PFL. Best of luck to her.
Good luck.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you all for listening. We are back with Volkanovski versus Islam next week, right? Big pay per view next week. So we'll talk to you all then. Thanks for listening. Hope you all enjoy the fights and win some bets this weekend. We'll see you all next week. Peace out, everyone.